Hi everyone, this is the dispatch for Thursday, April 23. We changed Psalms today. Today it's a passage from Psalm 116. This will also be the Psalm of the day. On Sunday, it's another psalm of praising God and calling for deliverance in the midst of trial. The psalmist says, "The snares of death encompassed me, the pangs of Sheol laid hold on me. Then I called on the name of the Lord. O Lord, I pray, save my life." You can hear the echoes of resurrection in this psalm. And then a passage from Isaiah chapter 25. And Isaiah is painting a picture of a time when the strong and the ruthless nations, that even they will be under the dominion of God. The people of Israel were always surrounded by stronger nations, always surrounded by those that they felt were ruthless. And they believe that God will rule over them all, and not by making Israel more ruthless, and not by making Israel stronger, but it says that God becomes a refuge for the poor and the needy, that the people of Israel are also to be a refuge to the poor and needy, and in that way God's rule, God's reign grows and expands. So a very interesting take on political power through the mouth of the prophet Isaiah here. And then finally from 1 Peter, we haven't been in 1 Peter yet. 1 Peter is towards the end of the New Testament. It's one of what's called the Pastoral Letters. These are not letters of Paul. They tend to be short. It might be interesting for you to know that the New Testament, for the most part, is ordered by length. So once you get beyond Acts and the gospel narratives and you get to the letters, they are mostly ordered longest to shortest. And then, of course, if there are multiple letters to a single church, those are grouped together. So when you get into Titus and Timothy and Peter and John and these pastoral epistles or pastoral letters, they tend to be very short. These are also later texts. These come at the end of the first century or the very beginning of the second, when the church is fairly well established, which is part of why they're called the pastoral epistles. They're written by pastors for the church. And so Peter's concern here for this later Christian community has to do with people who've never met Jesus. They were not there when he was alive, and yet still he's trying to help them understand the significance of the resurrection. It says, "Although you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and rejoice with an indescribable and glorious joy." I think one of the good things about these words for us is that we are in that same position. We are not quite as close to Jesus as they were, but in a sense, they might as well be as far away as we are, because they never got to see him, they never got to know him, and yet still we do know him, and still we do recognize that he is very much alive in our midst. You also see in 1 Peter here some of the interpretive work that early Christians were doing to make the prophetic texts relevant for the Christian community. You can see the way that they are using the words of Israel's prophets to understand the coming of Christ, that they are reinterpreting the prophetic tradition in light of what God has done in Christ. That work began in the Gospels and for Paul, but it continues here in these later letters, and of course it continued throughout the history of the Christian church. So those are our readings for today. One quick update for you. Larry Matson has been taken to the hospital. I don't know really anything about why. It doesn't sound COVID related, but I really don't know. But so please keep Larry in your prayers, and if I get any updates along the way, I'll be sure to share those with you. In the meantime, we can all be praying for Larry. That's it for today. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.